episode 27, I think, I hope, of That's So You. My name is Diane, also known as Mrs. You, and this is a mainly knitting podcast, but sometimes there is some crochet and some other crafty bits and bobs. For those who have been regular viewers, you know I haven't been around for a while, not for any particular reason, just because I've been busy with general life stuff. Half term just finished, the kids went back to school today, so yes, I'm... As you can see, little miss is here with me. She came back from nursery do you mind? She came back from nursery a few minutes ago, or maybe half an hour ago. So yes, I'm having to record with her around. So yes, I've been away for a while. Nothing really much has happened, nothing major, just busy. That's all, though I have been trying to do stuff. But yeah, for today's show, in case this is your first episode, I live in London, in North London, with my family, with my husband, Mr. Yu, triplet boys, who I refer to as the Tripletters, and of course, as you have met, Little Miss. What are you doing? As you have met Little Miss. Yes, so for today's episode, there aren't any FOs, but there's almost FOs, or let's say MOFOs, mostly finished objects. There's a few whips, some goodies, waiting in the wings projects as well, and I will try and do a what's on Valerie. Do you want to fall? Okay, then go on. Yes, awaiting the wings as well. So let me just sit her back in place and we will begin. My only mostly finished objects, non-knitting related ones. Again, those of you who have been watching for a while will know that I've started attempting to make some polymer clay stitch markers to sell on my shop. I have an Etsy shop where I sell my knitting patterns and stitch markers, and I've just started making polymer clay stitch markers. So I have been doing them bit by bit over the holidays, and I think it was Friday. Today's Monday, by the way, Monday the 29th of October. It's just about 1 o'clock now. Yeah, so on Friday, I think it was Thursday or Friday, I made some polymer clay stitch markers, and I glazed some of them. So I'll show you some of the ones I've made. Not all of them are glazed, which is why I'm referring to them as a mostly finished objects. Only some are glazed, and none of them have been placed on the actual, have been made up into stitch markers yet. They're still in the not properly finished yet, let's just say. So these are what I've made using sort of the scraps of I was going to say yarn, scraps of clay that I have left over from other items that I've made. So I've just made them into these tube beads. So these, I'm not sure if I will sell as proper stitch markers, or if I will do them as more of sort of like scraps or seconds and sell them at a reduced rate. So I have a bunch of these. Then there's also, I'll just get a few of them. Not all of these are on pins. There's these again. These are also made from scraps of clay that have been left over. There's no, what's the word, focus on my forward-facing camera on my phone, so you may not be able to see that too well. But yeah, these I will sell as sort of seconds or scraps, because I'm not being consistent in terms of the shapes or the size of these. Just what's left over, I twist a bunch of colours together and make them into balls and put holes in them. So I'm not going to be consistent with these when it comes to the size. There may be some that are a bit bigger, a bit smaller, so these will be sold as sort of scrap beads. So I've got these two. I've also got these, and there is also these. As well as those, I also made these, which I intend to be used.
It's ready.
It's not ready yet. I have something in the oven. That's what she's saying is ready, but it's not ready. Yeah, I have these sort of discs that, you know, when you have those stitch markers that are used for giving instructions such as knit two together, slip slip knit, make one, that type of thing. So I've made these discs which I have stamped the instructions in. I didn't bring it with me, I should have. I got myself a letter stamp thingy. It's advertised as being for baking, but I'm using it for clay. So I did a few of these slips, SSK ones, just to work out where I was going to position it and whether or not I was going to glaze them. I know you can't really tell the difference because of the lighting and everything, but this one is glazed, this one isn't. So I think I might glaze them, but actually I'm in two minds about whether I will glaze them or not. It looks good unglazed. Actually, I might not glaze them. I'll leave them unglazed. But yeah, so this will be the general shape of them, and they'll just have the instructions stamped in there with a hole at the top. So I just did 3 of those. One was this, another one I did with the make one left and make one right again. This one is glazed, this one isn't. So here you can tell a lot better, you can see the difference. This one I pushed the stamp in a bit too far. So this was just for me to test where it would be best to position the stamps, and also how deep to go. So I like the look of something like this. So yeah, I won't glaze them, I'll leave them unglazed. And then for another shape I've decided upon is this. So this one is for the knit two together, because the lettering on the stamps have been too long to go on the discs. I've decided that some of the other ones will be placed on rectangles. When I did this one, I cut around the stamping before deciding that I was going to have holes in the top of them. So there wasn't any space for a hole on this one. So I just placed a loop inside it. So this is going to be mine anyway. But for future ones, I'll make sure there's space around it to put a hole on the top, so then it can hang down like these ones. So I think I will go for this sort of shape. So the circle shape for the instructions that have fewer characters in them, and the rectangular shaped ones that will have for the instructions that have more characters in them. So these will just be done in a wide range of colors, but probably I will group them together. So for the make one left, make one right, I might sell them as a set of 2 or 4. Same for the slip slip knit ones, maybe a set of 2 or 4, and then knit 2 together, purl 2 together, those ones maybe 1, I don't know. And I might just also do a bundle of different instructions as well. Okay, right, other makes I've done are these licorice. I've been working on a few licorice charms or stitch markers. Let me see a good one I can show you. Okay, so this is one I did. So the leftover from this is what I used to make these and the ball ones. So since making this one, I've decided that the eye pins will instead go in the corner. So then it would sit like, where are you? I'm sure I have only that colour. Okay. So it would sit like this. Oh, here we go. It would sit like this instead. I think that just looks a lot better. Yeah. The other licorice I've done with these two. The first set I did, I worked the colours differently. So now thinking about it, I prefer this other method of working the colours. So this is what I did initially. But after making those ones, I made these where the colours, where the black is in the middle, and I think that looks a lot better than this. So I'll do, these will still probably go up in the shop if they look okay once I've sanded them and glazed them, but going forward I will do them like this. These will have just one coat of glaze on them. I think they do look, here it is, I know I have one that was glazed. So this is one that I glazed, and this is unglazed. I think they look better unglazed, and they look a lot more realistic when they're unglazed. But glazing at the moment for me helps, because when I sand them to take off like fingerprint marks and things like that, I find that there is the surface goes a bit kind of, what's the word, dusty. It looks very dry and dusty and chalky. So to get rid of that, the only way at the moment that I know of getting rid of that is to glaze it. So unless I can produce these perfectly where there are no fingerprint marks, there is no bits of dust and stuff inside the charms, then I would have to put at least one coat of glaze on just to get rid of that. But so I think one coat would work because it wouldn't look too shiny. Whereas with these balls, I'm going to do 2 coats because I think these look a lot better when they look very shiny. And again, these will just have 1 coat on them. Finally are my books. I made some books. One has since experienced some trauma, but I'll show you that in a moment. So this is, I don't have the original one. I'm going to call these Professor McGonagall. Some of you may have seen this before in a previous episode. So that's Professor McGonagall. It's a book charm. This will also be glazed, though I'm not sure how many coats I will do on that one. So this is the other one I made, a different colour. So I was just working on how thick to make all of the pieces in terms of the actual monocle and the chain and the eyes and the mouth and everything. So I realized it's best. Hold on a moment. I decided that it's best to keep everything quite thin so it doesn't look too thick and blocky, because I feel, what is it?
It's ready.
It's not ready yet. It'll be ready soon. Hold on. So this one, the chain and the monocle itself are a little thicker, but I think this does look, I like the colour of the actual book cover on this, but the actual thickness of the detailing I think looks a lot better on this one. So we'll go for the thinner detailing. And yeah, so this is Professor McGonagall. I'm still deciding whether or not I'm going to have any writing on the side, but for now I'll just leave that plain. Now the one that suffered a casualty was this, one of his eyes came off. So I'm just going to have to, I've got the eye there, I'm going to have to super glue that back on. But when, yes? You don't need to show the pictures. This girl, oh my goodness, she just grabbed the tripod and turned it around to try and show all of you the pictures on the mantle and what she was watching on TV. So, now I've forgotten where I was. Yes, I was in the middle of showing you Mr. McGonagall, who has one eye. So I will glue his eye back on. I have his eye here. I know one thing I could use is Bacon Bond. That will help to keep the smaller pieces intact. So I might get that, I might not, because the others seem fine. It may just mean that I have to press it down a bit more just to keep it in place, but that is a possible thing that I will have to get just to stop this from happening in the future. So that's pretty much, see, I'm just off track now because of her taking the camera away. Yeah, that's pretty much what I have made polymer clay wise. I know I've made other things in the past and I'm not 100% sure if I showed them to you, but once everything has been properly finished and is ready to go into the shop, I will have another video showing all my shop update items. Yeah, so that is everything polymer clay wise, and also mostly finished. Can you eat, please? And mostly finished objects wise. So next on to my whips. What happened?
You put the food down?
Yeah, I put it down, don't worry. Right, whips. I will go with order of when I cast them on. So I'll start with this. This is my Swing Me Right Round sweater. I started this some time ago. As I've said before, I would have liked to have finished this by now, but I have put a bit of work in it, not much. I'm getting close to the point where I'm going to start doing the shoulder shaping, the shoulder shaping, the short row shaping on the shoulders, before I then work on the front, which is when the two sections divide. So this is what I have so far. So I think I'm about an inch away before I have to start doing the short row shaping. So that's the front. I can't stretch this out fully because my needle's not long enough, and this is, well, it's reversible, but in terms of how it's written on the pattern, this is the front, I think. Yes. And then this will be the back. So it will come over and then it will crisscross, and then somehow, I haven't got to that bit yet, but somehow be joined in with the rest of the top. The yarn I'm using is a Cascade 220. No, not 220. This is Cascade Heritage Sock Yarn. The colorway I think is navy. I believe it is. It's not written there, but I believe it's navy. And yeah, so this is my second ball. I'm about, I'd say that's about halfway through the second ball, so it's going quite well. I'm at the stage now where working the pattern is fine. I just have to remember when to work certain increases. So that's what my markers are for. But just because of the amount of time it takes to get from one end to the other, it's not something I tend to work on unless I know I'm going to be sitting still for a considerable amount of time. Otherwise, there's no point working on it if I'm only going to get to do 1 or 2 rows. So that's why I haven't worked on this as much as I would have liked to, but I have done as much as I can. What else can I say about that? Oh, the pattern is by Lola Johnson, but I would have put information about that on the screen already. And Lola Johnson is the dyer behind Third Vault Yarns. Okay, which is next? That will be you. Next, in one of my newer projects bags, This is, if you saw my most recent What's Inside video, you would have seen this bag. It was part of the Alchemist Totes Club, which is one of the clubs that Lola, swing me right round Lola, has on her site. So this is the bag I got from the previous club. And yeah, so living in this bag, which is by the Tudor Rose Craft Studio. I know you can't see that too well, but it's the Tudor Rose Craft Studio, is the sweater for Mr. Now I have finished one arm and I need to start on the other arm. Yeah, so it's getting there. This sweater is, in terms of the numbers, it's based on the Flaxlight sweater by Tin Can Knits, and this stitch detailing there is the Hermione's Everyday Socks pattern. I can't remember who did that, but I'll put the details up there. So I just used that just to add some texture in the middle. I had initially planned to continue that on, but it was slowing me down. So I decided just to keep it for the middle section and go back to stocking stitch for the rest. This bind off on the sleeve will have to be done again. I don't like how it comes out like that. I'm still yet to find a bind off that I'm happy with. The bind off that I did on the body is tight. I did a regular knitted bind off, but I tried to hold the yarn loose, but it still came up a bit tight. So I'm going to have to take this back and do it again. And also, that's why I haven't sewn in the ends there yet. And also the same for the sleeves. I'm going to do the same thing. He is waiting for this and waiting for this and waiting for this. He hates having to try it on because it's not ready yet. Yeah, he's getting impatient. He keeps saying, oh my goodness, you're not done yet, as if it's something I can just do in one night. She's just tried to grab the thing again because she wants everyone to see what she's eating. But eat your food. Nobody needs to know what you're eating. As I was saying, he's waiting for this jumper to be finished. He's tired of trying it on. He just wants it. So yeah, I've just got this one on to do. If you understood, no, don't touch it. If you understood any of that, please type in your translation in the comment section, because I did not get a single word. Now, Missy, eat your food. Right, so yes, I've just got the sleeve to do. So I think I will work this sleeve. Then once this sleeve is worked, I will try and find a bind off that will work with this. I know there's the what is it? The one I used in the Join the Crew cowl project. I'll put the name up there. That one will work, but that one takes a bit more time to do. But I know that would be a great one to do, but I want to see there's something a bit simpler and quicker. But yeah, I'll wait until I've done the sleeves and then go back and redo this and redo the hem as well. The yarn I'm using for this is 3rd Volt yarns. This colorway here is Cosmic Turtle, and the base is Companion 4-ply. This colorway is Death, and the base is that's Librarian Sock. This is a merino. I think it's a. Is it 100%? I think it is 100% merino. It's either merino, nylon, or just 100% merino. And this is a BFL nylon blend. Yeah. So almost done there. Okay, see, I'm losing track now because of this one constantly trying to take this camera away. Right, so that's that. The next whip I have would be this. I think it's this. Yeah. So, I think it was the last episode I talked about socks that I had made for one of Little Miss's friends, and that his brother also wanted a pair of socks, and I knew the Triple Arters wanted socks as well. So I've started making socks for one of the Triple Arters, for Jimmy Jr., who is Triple Arter number 2. He chose, whenever it comes to choosing what colours things are, or making any sort of choice in terms of who goes on the PlayStation first, who does this or that first or last, I always get them to pick a number from 1 to 10. So he did, and then he got first pick, and he went for this yarn, which is West Yorkshire Spinners signature 4-ply. This is the, I think it's the Hollyberry colorway, and so he chose those socks. So this is what I've done so far on his socks. It's a bit skinnier, but it still fits him. I've been trying it on as I've been going along, so that's not too bad. Yeah, so I've just worked the heel. For this, I'm doing a different heel to what I would normally do. Normally, I would do a short row heel or a German short, regular short row heel or a German short row heel. So for this, I've used from this book that my friend Valerie got for me. Thank you very much, Valerie. There's various heel and toe techniques, and one of the heels that it talks about is the joined heel flap. So that's what I'm using for this, and this is what it looks like from the back once it's done up. So that's what I've done so far. So I've just got this, and that's the heel itself done. So now I just need to start working on the leg. So this is the first sock that has been, the first foot I'm still working on. Yeah, so that's going along nicely. He's happy to be getting some socks. So once I've done his one, I may then do his friend's one, the brother of Little Mrs. Friends. So that way I can make sure it's done by Christmas, just to make sure it's there, because the Triple Arters one, they'll be here for Christmas, so I can always give theirs. I'll have more time, but I'll need to make sure that their friend's one is done before the school ends, which will be towards the end of December. And that does sound like a lot of time, but I don't know what else is going to happen between now and then in terms of projects and other life stuff, so I want to make sure it's done and ready to go for the end of the term. Right, so yeah, this has been worked on my higher 2.25s. I've done these on 48 stitches, so it looks a bit skinny. Even when he wears it, it does stretch a bit over his legs. So for Mr., who is thinner than him, I will do the same numbers. For Mr. Man, who's Triple Arter number 1, I will make them a bit wider. So I might go to maybe a 52 or 56, something like that. I'll try that on him because he is big, a little bigger than the other two, and so yeah, I'll go a bit wider for him on his socks. But in the waiting in the wing section, I'll show you the yarn I'm going to use for some of their socks. So the second to last whip I have is in this bag. In the middle of October, which would be, I think it's 2 weeks ago now, I attended the I attended the knitting and stitching show in Alexandra Palace, and I wasn't initially intending to go because I didn't have much of a budget for yarn, but my friend Valerie had organised some people to go, and the aim was for us to be, if we were able to get 10 people, we would be able to get the discounted tickets. We weren't able to get that number, but we all still went anyway. So I thought, even though I'm not going to buy lots of yarn, it'll be nice just to go and see everybody again, because most of them I hadn't seen since the knit in public. Yeah, so I did go along with the mind that I wasn't really going to buy lots of yarn, which I didn't. I bought this kit, I bought some sock yarn, and I bought a bag. Okay, from this point forward, if there are any sudden breaks in transmission, just assume that Little Miss has tried to take the camera again to show you what it is she desperately thinks you need to see. So I don't have to keep explaining why suddenly it's cut. So I have no idea where I was at the point when she grabbed the tripod, but I think, sorry, I just took a bite of something. I think I was saying that, yes, I didn't have a huge, I knew I wasn't going to buy a ton of stuff, and I didn't. I just bought this kit, some sock yarn, and a badge. So I'll show you the other things in goodies, but since I've started this already, I'll show you it now. So the kit in this is for mittens. Before I had 4 handmade gloves / 3 pairs of handmade gloves / mittens. One of them I've lost both hands. It was from Patterns Donati. It was a long sleeve, not long sleeve, it was a longer, kind of come up to here, fingerless mitts. Another one that was called Perry. I used some scraps of yarn, I used some yarn that I had left over from hats I made from the boys, and that was called Perry, and again that was a fingerless mitt, and it was a Fair Isle style one. I've got one hand which is sitting on my dresser in the bedroom. Mittens where I think it's called the peekaboo mitts, where it has a flap, but instead of the flap kind of coming over your hand, there's like a hole here where you just kind of stick your hand through, so it's not kind of, it doesn't fold over like a hat, or doesn't have a button for it. It's just all in one, but there's a slit around about here. So when you want to take your fingers out, you just kind of slip them through, and it kind of hangs off, if that makes any sense. But they're called the peekaboo mitts. Go and check them out. Very simple to make, very effective. So yeah, those again, I think I know where one is. I believe one of them may have been drying and now has fallen down the back of one of the radiators, and it's very tricky to get out because there's some metallic sheets to radiate the heat off there, and yeah, so it's difficult to get it out because that's there as well. So I really need some mitts. I don't want to buy anything, and even though I'm mainly using the car more now because of the weather and because Mr. U isn't taking the car to work as often, it's still nice to have something handmade on my hands. So these are I'm just trying to show you the pattern itself. So these are the mitts I'm making. They are from Stuff and Still, and that's just what they are called. They don't really have any other name. But this pattern is available on their website. Where was I? That is the pattern name. It doesn't really have any other particular name, and it's from Stuff and Still. They had a stand at the show, and they had this kit and another, and the hat kit. So I went for the mitts. These were £7, which I thought was a very good price. So this is it's not the picture on the pattern, is just that. So it's not clear from looking at this, but it is double lined. So I believe it is reversible. So I've done the outer one first, and so I'm just starting the inner one. So once this has been made, it will then be pushed into here. So this is how this fits. So I'm very happy with that. So I just need to repeat what I did here with this shade and then push it into the middle. Here you go. Is it wet?
Yeah.
Alright, hold on. Because it wasn't closed properly. Yeah, you have to make sure you close it properly, yeah? Yeah. So the yarn is called, it's just Stop and Still Fine Wool. I don't know whether you can get the yarn on this site because they're not just a knitting company. They do various things like fabrics and sewing patterns and things like that as well. So this is the yarn. The colors don't have any names, just has a number 1702. I think this was 1712 or 1721. It was a completely different number. So that's what the colors look like. The sizes you get. Now, the pattern is simple and easy to follow. The only thing I wasn't happy with was the fact that you're not given measurements. It just says the sizes are small, medium and large. But you're not given any measurements in terms of what small, medium and large is. So I had to do a rough, based on the gauge, kind of work backwards and from that to work out how big the mitten would be on my hand, and from that I decided to do the medium size. So I think it would have been a lot easier if they had the size there, because as an experienced knitter I know how to work that out. But if there was somebody, this is I would say relatively easy pattern for a beginner knitter, but they may not have known how to work out which size to go for. So I think that's one thing that could be added there, and I couldn't find anything online regarding this. I checked on Ravelry. They do have patterns on Ravelry, but not this one, and on their website as well there's nothing there that tells you what the sizes are, and the same for Instagram. I looked all over there. I tried to look everywhere just to get an idea of what size these were. So I've just gone for the medium, and this is what size my hand is. So, yeah, so just got to do this, just got to do this inner part of the sock, and then I'll start on the second sock. The needles I'm using, these are Addies. I'm not sure what the particular Addies are, but the size is 3.25, I think. No. Yeah, 3.25. The pattern calls for 3mm, but my tension tends to be a bit tight, so I did a very quick gauge swatch, and I just went for a 3.25 because I knew that with that it would either be a good fit or it'll be just a bit big. I initially preferred to do a 3.5, but I couldn't find my 3.5 needles, so just went for the 3.25. So it feels, lengthwise it feels a little bit tight, but that can easily be stretched out through blocking, so it's not a major issue. Now my final whip, I feel like if we took it forever and I'm still on whips. My final whip is one I started this morning after I dropped everybody off at school. Now, Saturday I took, she left the room, I just had to check where she was. Right, so Saturday I went to the food shopping. I took Little Miss and a family friend with me, and it was freezing cold. She was trying to pull her hands into her sleeves. She had her hood on, all velcroed up. You could only see her eyes. It was cold. So then I knew, okay, you need to make some woolly stuff for everyone to keep them warm, and also hunt down all the kind of hats and gloves and scarves are in the house and see what's there so you know what to make. So I managed to find 3 hats. I found 1 scarf and 1 pair of gloves, plus 1 glove that doesn't have a friend. So I have decided to make cowls with this yarn I picked up around this time last year, and I used it to make a cardigan for Little Miss. I got this from Aldi. For those of you who know the store Aldi, they do sell yarn at times. So I got this. So I've still got all of this and some white as well. And this is the this is pretty much all of, this is all of the leftover from the first ball I had after making her cardigan. So I've just finished this before I started recording. I did some before I picked her up and then did the rest after picking her up from nursery. So I'm going to stop here because that's the size so far. I want to see how this fits on one of the triple otters' heads. I don't want to make something that's too big. I just want something they can just pull on and it just goes on their neck like this, as opposed to something big that they're going to have to be wrapping around. So I did, so this might go on one of their heads, as long as I can get through their head and just sit nicely on their neck. That's what I'm looking for. So I don't want to add any more rows until I've tested this on them. And then, I'll just seam it together and I can start wearing it tomorrow. And if that does happen, then I'll just start on the next one. So potentially I could have 3 done today, though I only really need 2. But if I do one for one person, everybody might want one. I don't know if anybody's going to want to wear the scarf that I found, because it's one of Mr. Yu's old scarves and it's very, very long. So we just have to see. And the weather's not so cold that they would really, really notice it. They're still at the point where when we leave in the morning, they try to leave without their jackets. And it doesn't help that we use the car sometimes, because then they don't properly feel the cold. So it's only when they get to school and when they're playing out and during lunchtime that they will feel it. So this is when this will come in handy, and I'm just hoping they don't lose it. In the past I've avoided making them things ever since they got to the point of nursery and reception, because then I'm not so much in control of where their hand knits are going when they're out of the house. But I just thought it's either make something and they something quick like this and they lose it, or buy something and they lose it. So since I've got this yarn here already, and I can, with the amount I've got left, I can get another 2 out of that. So, and with the white as well, I could get another 4 or maybe even more out of it. So if this does get lost, it's not a great loss because it's been so quick to whip up. I think it took, I wouldn't say an hour, but around about an hour or so to do this. I think it would have been quicker, just that I did a foundation double crochet, and that did take a bit of time because I'm holding it double, so having to make sure I catch both loops of yarn when working it. That's what kind of slowed me down a bit. But this is Aran weight, as you may have seen on the tag, but holding it double makes it around about a chunky weight, I think. So that's another reason why I held it double. It makes it quicker and chunkier. So so this is the first one of those. Once I've seamed it, I don't know, I might add some other detailing, like a button. Maybe if I see something that would suit them, I might add a button to it. And now this will be a nice addition to my yardage count for the pigskin party. The last thing I added there was my socks, the final socks for the Fairly Odd Socks collection. So it's been ages since I added anything. So if I can get 3 cowls done, that would be great, because it'll just boost my numbers a little bit. And also, Little Miss would need a hat. She has her scarf. I found her scarf as well from last year, so she can use that. And a hat for her, I don't know if I will make one or buy one, but I might. Hers will be a little easier to keep safe because she's only in nursery for half a day. So, excuse me, I don't have very burpy today. she's only in nursery for half a day, so there isn't so much running about. And being in nursery, the teachers tend to help them look after their things a bit more. So yeah, it's not likely that she will lose them compared to her brothers. So I might do a similar thing to this. I'll just add more stitches to it, and then when I seam it up like that, I will then just bring the top in and then add a pom-pom. Something very simple and basic. Yeah, so that will be her hat if I do that. So this, see, this should have been in the mostly finished section because it is pretty much finished. I just need to double check the size. So yeah, that's what I've got project wise to show you. Yeah, so that's what I've been kind of working on, and I do have other things I want to cast on, but we'll get into that when I do the waiting in the wings section. So you've already seen the stop and still yarn that I picked up at the knitting and stitching show. The other yarn I got was these Regia Perfect, and these are kid socks. Yeah, so this is the only other line I've got, and this is a design line by Arnie and Carlos. So I think it's Mr. who was chosen to use these, so I'm going to use these to make socks for him, and depending on what's left over, I might do a pair for myself because the colour doesn't look too bad, or I'll find, if I can possibly make another pair for someone else, I will. But these are 50 grams each, also 60 grams each, and there is doesn't say how many meters or yards there are on this, but it's 60 grams. It's showing here that for one sock you'll need about 22 to 36 grams. So I'm not sure if it's one leg or one pair, but we'll see. Because when I made my ankle socks, I was able to make a pair of ankle socks with 50 grams of yarn. So I'm just thinking, if there's a chance, I don't know, maybe I could use about 50. We'll see. I don't know how high I'm going to make the socks go anyway, so we'll see. But this is how they will turn out when they're done. Again, apologies for lack of focus. Yeah, it's the first time I've used. Have you finished?
You
want them to drink it?
I don't know, sir.
Okay. Finished? Can you just... All right, everybody's had enough drink now. Thank you. Right, so I haven't used Perfect before, though I have heard a lot about it. So I was glad when I saw these there. I would have liked to have picked up more, but I wasn't too sure about some of the other colours, and again, low budget. So I thought, let me just go with one pair, so at least that's one person covered. And I knew I had enough yarn at home already to be able to make something for the others. So yeah, I'll get started with these probably middle of November. The only two other goodies in terms of my knitting and stitching show purchases. The badge I got was this fish badge, which is a symbol that's used by many Christians, so I just thought that was nice. Just a nice little badge purchase. The person I bought this from, let me see if I've got her details here. I don't think I've got it here. I'll put details of her. I think it's Gillian's Glass, something like that. But yeah, she has I think with lamp work, jewelry, earrings and rings and other bits and pieces on her stall. So I was going to buy one of the earrings, but again, because of the budget, I thought I'd just pick up a badge. So it'll just be a nice addition to my collection there. And my final goodie, that's what we're doing. My final goodie is a pattern book. Now this is a book that has recently been published by Lola, the dyer behind Third Vault Yarns, and it's called Board Game Knits. It's a collection of patterns that have been inspired by board games, and she's produced this alongside Helena Timms, who I believe is a part of John Arben Textiles. Excuse me. So she produced this along with Helena Timms, who is part of John Arben Textiles, I believe. And there are 9 patterns in total. So we have aggravation, a game of chance. We have backgammon hat and a backgammon cowl. We've got mystery mitts, which are themed on Cluedo. You have that building blocks, Kaplunk, snakes and ladders hat, and snakes and ladders mitts. So from this, I think the first thing I'll probably do are the mystery mitts. I really like them, and I do like Kaplunk as well. So I will be doing a review of this book at some point, so look out for that. But yeah, I was very pleased when this came through the door. I pre-ordered it. I think it's such a great concept, and I was very happy to support Lola in what she was doing. So it's soft cover, but the pages, well, the book itself is well put together, great pictures, nice, obviously I can't show you the chart, but nice, full, easy to read charts as well. So, and it says volume 1, which leads me to believe that more will be coming out, which I will look forward to. So yeah, this is a great book. If you're someone who likes board games or likes themed patterns, do get yourself a copy of this. Yeah, so I won't talk too much about it just because I want to do a review on it, so I don't want to repeat myself too much, but there are some really nice patterns in here. I like also how the board game theme is also used when it comes to the difficulty level, number of skeins, and the time it takes to work a pattern. I think it's a nice way of carrying out the theme throughout the whole book. Moving on to Waiting in the Wings. So I've already shown you these socks, which are going to be used for socks. I've already shown you this sock yarn, which is going to be used to make socks for Mr. Next, I'm going, the other socks that will be used are these, and these will be used for Mr. Man. Oh, hold on. I can't remember now. I think somebody may have chosen this, which is leftover yarn from socks I made. This is Third Vault Yarns. I believe this is Librarian Sock in Mordor. Why did you put your shoes back on? Missy. Yes, I can't remember if somebody chose this. I'll have to double check which ones they selected, but because of the other two I have left over, so I'll do something in this and use some scrap yarn for contrasting, possibly toes, heels and cuffs, and then this will be for another person. What else do I have here? I wasn't asking you. I've got this yarn, now that I'm almost finished.
Tired.
You're tired?
Yeah.
Okay, go to sleep then.
No.
Now that I've finished the jumper for Mr. and almost finished the jumper for Mr. Man, it's now Jimmy Jr.'s turn. So I'm going to use this for him. Now it's taken a long time for me to decide on what to use for him because I want to try and use what I already have. There aren't really any yarns I have that would be enough to make a jumper for him that or that are in his colors. So this I was going to use for myself to use with another yarn to make a shawl, and for him the model I've just shown you, I was going to pair that with another yarn to use for him, but then that would mean buying something extra to go along with it. So I just went through my stash, putting different shades together, and I decided that if I were to hold these two together double, it could probably work. I unwound everything, held them together and tried to mix them up just to see what it would be like. And the two do look like they would go together. And that way, having two 4-ply yarns or fingering weight yarns held together, I believe will make it a DK weight. So that should help things go along a bit faster. I don't know if that would still be enough in terms of how much, that's been going, in terms of how much yarn I have, but at least it's a start. So I am hoping that this will be enough to make a full jumper for him, because to then buy a yarn that will go with the two of these would be difficult. So then what I'd have to then do is, maybe if I saw that I was running out, maybe leave the hem and the cuffs and work them in a different color, probably black, just to tie in with everything. But yeah, the other issue is that these are both different in terms of the how they have been plied together. This one, well, this yarn is Madeline Tosh. It's Tosh Sock, which is superwash merino. I don't know if you can see, but it's a bit loosely plied. And even though they're both fingering, this one looks like it's a bit fluffier or a little thicker and bouncier area, if you know what I'm talking about, compared to this one. This is also 100% merino. This is not 100% merino. This is merino nylon 80/20, and yeah, it looks like it's been applied a lot tighter than this one. So this one, when to look at it, for me, it looks like it could be more of a sport weight. Just the general, the fact that it's been plied looser than this one, it just gives more of that look of it being a little bit chunkier, but it's a fingering weight. So I just hope working these two together, it wouldn't be too much of a difference when they are knitted up. Also, I've had this yarn for a long time. I think it was 2015. No, not 2015. Trying to think. Were you born when I bought this? I don't think you were. So she wasn't born, and I wasn't pregnant with her. So that means it would have been, I think, either 2013 or 2014 when I bought this. Probably 2014 when I bought this. And I had planned to use it to make another Sunwalker shawl and pair it with a red yarn, something similar shade to this, and pair it with a red with that to make another Sunwalker. But I haven't gotten around to doing that, and I've seen another yarn I can use for that. That's it's the Sheep G's swirl, Sheep G's whirl, which is I think there's about 12,000 meters, not 12,000, 1200 meters in one ball, and it's a gradient yarn. It what's the word? So it's like an ombre yarn. So I think I would like to use that instead. So, and I've noticed as this has been stored away for some time, it has been sort of not necessarily pilling, but you can see it's developing a bit of a halo. So I wasn't sure whether using this on him would be good, because that to me would mean that it's going to lead to quite a bit of pilling. So and I don't know how this would respond to being worn by an 8-year-old boy, but we will see, because other than the shawl I was going to use it for, there's nothing else I was really thinking about to use. I could really come to, there's nothing else I had a plan for making this with. And that shawl, I have another yarn that I could have used for that as well. There was always an option between this one and that one. So now I've gone for that one for the shawl, and this one for the jumper for Jimmy Jr. So at some point I'm going to make a start on this. Maybe before I even finish the sleeve on the one for Mr.
Mommy!
Yes? This is Super Wings. Alright. You want another one?
Yeah.
Well, there's no other one on. That's the only one there.
No one.
I don't know what you want from me.
No one.
Right. So that's going to be for Jimmy Jr. Listen, there's no other option. Alright. So now for me, I would like to have more hats and things like that. So I have these two available. These are, I think, the only DK yarns I have, I believe. So these will be made into either hats or mittens or something winter related. Unless, before I get down to using them, I'm able to see a yarn that these will work well with to be made into a sweater, because I think I would like to make more sweaters, probably in a DK way, just so that it will be quicker to do. Yeah, so this is 3rd Volt yarns again. This is Caroline DK, and it's the Palestite colorway. This came with the first Alchemist Tote Club of the year, so that came with that. And this is again 3rd Volt yarns. This is Echo DK. This was, I do think this is discontinued now. Caroline DK replaced Echo DK, and the colorway for this is Bad Blood. I got this as, was this the prize or was the other one the prize? No, this wasn't. This one I bought from her Etsy shop, yeah. So this is what also I've had for a while, and I initially planned to use this in a cardigan project, but I used a different shade of yarn instead. So yeah, this could make a nice hat or mittens, cowl, just something wintry. So I'm not sure exactly what I will do with these. I would just like to make use of them. Okay, so I believe that is all of the things I have to show in terms of those. So what's on Valerie? It's been a while since Valerie came out. I'm not going to bring her out now, but what I will do is take a picture of her wearing the What's on Valerie item, just so the What's on Valerie segment actually makes sense. So what's on Valerie today is this shawl. And I've realised now, bringing this out is going to be a bit of a 3rd Volt yarns episode, because this is a shawl that needs to be, I need to block this. It's a shawl that has been designed by Lola. I test knitted this for her. The pattern is Electric Skylines, and yeah, the yarn I've used, let me see which end am I starting on. So for this I use the Yarn Yard Toddy. I can't remember the colorway. I think it's speckled colorway. That was it. The speckled colorway, and the rest of it is Lamington Lass. The colorway was Briar Fox, I believe. If I'll put information there just in case I'm not right. These Skyline colorways are from minis that I got from Frankenstein Yarns Etsy store. So I just use those to make these skylines. So this is a really simple project. It uses short rows, which I love using to make these shapes and to work each segment. So as you can see, it needs to be blocked again just to bring it out. So I'm going to try and do that with this and all my other shawls so that they are ready for the colder months. So I think that's it for the episode. My time is running out, so I need to be quite quick. So if it was your first time viewing, I hope you have enjoyed it. Don't forget to check out the other videos on the channel. Excuse me. Check out the other videos on the channel, other podcasts and the review and what's inside videos. I'm planning to do a recipe recording this week for some cookies, so look out for that. And yeah, comment, like, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and check out the Ravelry group, which is Mrs. You Makes, and the blog also. The details for that will be at the bottom. So take care and see you soon. Bye. Say bye.
Bye.